Hello, today's question comes from Mohammed. He actually asked this on Doc Williams' channel. Thanks, Doc Williams, for making some more videos from our talk available. If you are not subscribed to Doc Williams now, go over to Doc Williams' YouTube channel and take a look at what he's doing. Muhammad asks, so he has a database and he has a table of data and he wants to create a bar above that data having following buttons. And from what he's saying, it sounds like he has a database of cars. So he wants to have a start date, an end date, a car type, like Nissan or Toyota or Nissan and Toyota, and a country. So once he's chosen these filters, he wants to then reflect in the raw data. And I believe what this means is that he wants to see only the results that he selects or wants. And so I think I'm going to make a few assumptions. Totally understandable if these assumptions are wrong in any way or the angle is off. But basically, I think this is the answer, or sorry, the actual problem is he has a list of cars. He wants to filter out everything that is outside of the start date and end date. So I'm not sure if these are particularly like date of sale or date of creation. There is a little bit of sort of interesting things you can do with dates. So I think this will be an interesting video to show you how to filter between two dates. I'll show you that. And then what could be an entirely other video, but I'm going to try to get through it in this video as quickly as I can, is car type, which he has two particular problems here. So he's asking for a car type Nissan only or Nissan and Toyota. And in order to solve this challenge and this type of filter where you can have sort of an or an and, one option or more than one option. There's a few ways to deal with this. I'm going to show you one way. It's not the only way. And then just a country, where I guess you select it. I think this is going to be, I actually can't tell because the country he has is USA, but the car types are Nissan and Toyota. So maybe this is cars sold. Unfortunately, sorry, it's just a little complicated question because the answers are vastly different if there is some issue here. So I'm going to get through this as best I can with the information I can. Absolutely understandable if this is not the correct answer. But the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a list of cars with these kinds of data, and I'll be back in like 1 second. All right, so the first thing we have is a database, and I'm going to show you how to set this up because we need to, in order to accomplish what he's asking for a database function where you have the table of raw data, so you see everything, I'm assuming, and then you have a bar above that you can filter. So first you actually have to have a database on a separate tab so that you can filter it. So here I've created it. I've created IDs so we know what we're getting. We're getting some other information other than just the date, the type, and the country. I've added Mexico here, some other country. These are totally random. I also don't know the exact other. I don't know if this is a date of sale or date of purchase or anything else, but we have some random dates here. And what we're going to do first is go over to our filter, and we're going to create everything. So we're going to go filter. What do we want to filter? We want to filter A to D. And actually we want to do A2 to D. And we're just going to do 16 we know the end of it. This might be everything, but we're just going to get that filter. We're going to get everything. So we need to filter something. So actually, let's start saying what we want. We want everything with ID. We want everything that has an ID, so that's over 0. And that's going to need to be the same thing. Basically, it needs to look at the exact same range. So your database and your filter need to be the same thing there, or you'll get an error. Okay, so we have everything. We have, let me put ID here, date, type, and country. So let me do one more thing here. And we're just going to make this a little nicer to look at so we know that this is our database. I'm going to put a line here, actually. You'll see why in just a hot second. We're going to hide our good lines. Let's make it look a little nicer. And now we want to filter. So we want, as he says, start date, end date. And we're going to be searching between those two dates. I'm going to just add a couple dates here. Once you add a date, you can double click and you can sort of just say, here, let's do April 1st to there. What is the other thing? We want type. So we want to select the type and we want to select the country. Okay, so if we want to make a drop-down menu, you'll see this list from a range. We're going to go back to our database and we're going to select country. Okay, save. We can definitely fix this, and we have a couple extra things we can do to this, but check out the other Better Sheets videos. Those are available to make this a little more nuanced and easier to work with, this type. So this is the hardest part of this entire video, is how do we select multiple types of cars. So let's go through the filter of start date, end date first. Then we'll come back to type, and we're actually going to change the input here. Instead of a drop-down, we're going to use something else. In order to filter this by these dates, here's what we need to do. We need to add two filters. So already we have only the ones with an ID. We add a column, and we say, okay, this, actually we go DB is going to be B2 to B16 is greater than B2 here minus 1. Okay, so what that means is we'll include everything with a start date. So you can do not the minus 1, and then you'll get everything in this between, so not including this start date if you use greater than. You can also do greater than and equals than, actually. And we'll get everything, I think. And that's, yeah, every fourth. Let's just double check. Let's bring that to June 10th and see those things that disappeared. So now everything is between June 10th and what is this, August 6th. So let's do, if we select something like that, doesn't, oh, our end date, it's only doing one. So end date doesn't matter. Let's just double check 625. And now 625. So this is greater than or equal to. We can then add the end date, which needs to be DB, same place, DB DB2 to B16 is less than or equal to, sign is B3. And we get an error because the end date is before the start date. That is good. That means it's working. So now we have 625 to 812. We have 625 here, and all of the Julys. Great. So this works. So what we're doing is we're saying filter this database, which we can add anything we want over here, for start date and end date. Got scared a little bit. What we then need to do, let's just color this so you know this can be edited. And now we have start date, end date, and now we need the country. So we're going to use D. So we're going to say DB D2 to D16 is equal to B5. So this is Mexico. And now everything other than Mexico shows up. If we use USA, now we have USA. And now I'm going to take a short pause, and I will be back. Okay, so before I go through how to do this checkbox, because it actually is very difficult, we have a situation where I don't necessarily know what the person I'm sending this to needs. Here's a situation that I have come up with. So basically, if neither of these are checked, if we have type Toyota and Nissan here available, or something else, and we just want Nissan and Toyota, If nothing is checked, then do not have any results. If Nissan is checked, have Nissan as the result. If Toyota is checked, have Toyota as the result. If both are checked, have all, meaning everything Nissan or Toyota as an option here. That's what I'm going to create. But before we go through that, I do want to just double check, because sometimes what you can do when you have data that you absolutely can move around, maybe there is some reason you can't necessarily edit it, but you want to view it, you can select it all and go up here to filter. This is create a filter. And now we can just click on these and select what we want. Actually, we don't want to select the date we want. We can select by condition, value. We can select this particular selector clear. We don't want any values. We can also select by type here. This is actually a lot easier to do. We just want to uncheck the unknown. So we only want Nissan and Toyota. And here we go. We see Nissan and Toyota. We can check one. And we want sort of this functionality. See, if we have neither checked, nothing shows up. If we have both checked, we have Nissan and Toyota. So we sort of want that functionality, but we also want to have a range of dates and select specific countries. So this filter has some options, and you can even sort by color or filter by color. You can sort plus filter. This has a lot of options, but what's interesting is that sometimes, and at least some cases, you do want to have a filter that you design your own way, and you have limitations and opinions in your own way. What this filter will do also, and I find this a very why I don't use this filter almost ever, is because by using this filter, anyone else using this document now sees this filter and is only able to see what's in the filter. They must turn the filter off, and then they can see the data, and it turns the filter off for everyone viewing this sheet. So by building your own filter, what you're able to do is, one, be opinionated, set things how you want to set them. But also what you can do is create this filter on a completely separate worksheet and give people different views into the same data. Or you can even set the filter and then duplicate this and set a different filter so you can give different views to the same data to different people. If you know, like, if you know, like, I only want to see this information, say, I only want to see everything from in the last 7 days. You can do that with this kind of filter, and then say, only past week. If you wanted to do that over here, you sort of can do it, but then this data is only available to be seen in that way. By adding filters, you can see it in different ways. Okay, so back to this problem. So what I'm having a little bit of difficulty right now, and hopefully this isn't derailing. I will pause the video after explaining this, and then I'll come back with some type of solution. Basically, what we're saying is, and I'll repeat it here, we have 4 situations. We have neither is checked, so we don't want to see anything. We want Nissan checked. We only want to see Nissan. We have Toyota checked. We only want to see Toyota. Both checked. We want to see all. That's what we're trying to do in this filter. I'll share with you a few things. I tried to do if. I've tried to do an array. Combining things, I'm getting an error when I combine 2 filters where one of them is unknown. So I'm going to pause the video now, and I'll come back with a solution or some type of hack solution in a second. All right, so I think actually there is something else going on here, because with neither is checked, you actually you don't want all, you do want all if nothing is checked. You want every type. So we have some other types here, right? And we want, when both are checked, we want Nissan or Toyota. I think when I went through this before, I was wrong. Toyota. So, and nothing else. So, right now, this is what we have. We have if nothing is checked, when we are not filtering it by type, we should have everything. So let me show you. Actually, if I have Nissan, there's Nissan. If I have Toyota, there's Toyota. Let's set this all the way there. And yeah. And now if we check both, we have Nissan and Toyota. But we have nothing else. Let's add in, we have unknowns here, right? So we actually want, if nothing is checked, we want everything. So I'm going to fix that and I'll be right back. But I think this is now a better solution, or the problem is now defined here. If nothing is checked, give me everything. If Nissan is checked, only give me Nissan. If Toyota is checked, only Toyota. If both are checked, we want Nissan or Toyota. I'll be right back. So let me explain this sort of if, when we add some ifs together, and maybe that'll help me wrap my head around what I'm trying to do, because I'm a little blank here. So let me just make some notes. Okay, so what happens is an if function has 3 arguments. It has something that is going to resolve true, false. And it's some argument. It's saying, like, what's interesting is that if you insert a checkbox somewhere, insert checkbox, this checkbox is literally a visual representation of the values of true, false. So what's interesting is you can use a checkbox. This is true, you can see it up here, and this is false. So you can use a checkbox only here. You can say equals if C3, and, well, we're going to have 2 arguments. You're going to have a true, and then you're going to have a false. And you're going to say, checkbox here, and if it's true, checked. If it's false, not checked. Or unchecked. So what we can do is in our if function equals if checkbox is C3, you can use that as the true false, and if it's true, let's just do that. If it's false, do that. And now see, this is unchecked because it's going here. Checked, it goes here, right? So there's 3 arguments, but we can string these together to get a variety of things. So we can say if, and start our if and true, false. We're going to use our checkbox. True, false. And if it's true, do another if. And now inside of that, true, false. So if this is true, do an if true, true, false. And then do true and false. And so now, we'll end that. Let's just visually end that. So now this is one true, false. Let me color this in orange. And this is another true, false, but we only get to this true, false if the orange is true. And so we can say orange true. So we now have true. Oh, let me not take that. Let's keep it here. So if this is true, then we're going to go to this true, false. So if true, true, if this is true and this is true, do this. If this is true and this is false, do this. Right now we have a heuristic. We have a path that we have to take. We also have a comma, false. Okay, so we have, and we can, in place of that, also do an if. And true, false. And then we'll have true and false. So now in the case of this orange being false, we jump over here to this if statement and have another one. So we'll maybe color this, let's color this blue. No, not that blue. Let's try a different blue, this one. So we now say, okay, this orange is true, false. If it's false, go over here. And if this is true, go here. And false. So we have, we have 2 options. Let's actually do it this way. I know what we'll do. We will say we have true, true, false, false. So this is going to be all orange. Whoops. And this will represent orange. And now we have true, false, and true, false. Oops. Keyboard shortcuts are going crazy right now. Oh my god, 1 second. All right, so we have orange that says true or false. Once orange is true, then we'll have a yellow true false. If orange is false, we'll have then a blue true false. So we have 4 situations here: true true, true false, false true, false false. And I think this gets us our, let's go to our filter. And I think that gets us our, all of our options here. Nissan, all, Nissan, Toyota, Nissan, or Toyota. So we have neither checked, which is false, false. Nissan checked, which is true, false. Toyota checked, which is false, true. And then both checked, which is true, true. So we can map this very quickly. Let me take this. If we understand this true, false, we understand this. All right, so this is going to be true, false is Nissan. This true, false is going to be Toyota. But this is, right, Toyota Nissan first, then Toyota. And if you want to add more, what happens is you have to actually double this, and you have actually 8 possibilities. Again, I do not believe this is the only solution. There might be some very quicker solutions, faster solutions, but this is a solution that I've gotten here. Okay, so this is actually wrong. This is the opposite way. Sorry, I just realized that. This and this. Let's move this here. Wait, true, true is Nissan and Toyota. That's both checked. Let's get this right first. And then Nissan checked only. Toyota checked, which is false, true. And then neither checked. Okay. So we have our filter already for everything other than this. So let's go get that again, and we'll start our filter parade, I'll say. Oh my god, these. I think this is it. And if not, we can add this again. So, okay, first one, we want to know, is Nissan checked? So if, and this is going to be B4, so if it's true, true, let's build that first. So if B4 is true, if B5 is true, then true, true is we want Nissan or Toyota. So we'll have that there. Let's put actually, before we do this filter, let me save this filter somewhere, and I'm just going to do messaging. We will do or. We'll call this or. Nissan or Toyota. You can do this sometimes to just double check if parade or if functions are correct. So now we want true but false. So if B4 is true and B5 is false, meaning we have Nissan checked, we don't have Toyota checked, then this is only going to be only Nissan. Okay? And end that if. But now we have the other side, right? If it's false. If B4 is false, if Nissan is checked, then we need to know, is Toyota checked? So if B5, same thing. Now we have false true. So that means Toyota is checked only. We'll say only. So we'll say Toyota. Just give it a little different. Toyota only. And then if false and false, then we want everything. We want everything. Okay. Let's end the parentheses there. This says everything because both are unchecked. That's correct. Nissan is checked. Only Nissan. Nissan and Toyota is Nissan or Toyota. Nissan unchecked, Toyota checked, Toyota only. So now those are the only 4 possibilities here, right? We have nothing checked, which will show everything. We have Nissan checked, only Nissan. Toyota checked, only Toyota. And then both checked, we have Nissan or Toyota. So now we know exactly that our if parade, let's call it, is absolutely correct. We just need to figure out what we put in the filters. And what we can do is we will, the easiest filter, I guess, is going to be all. So where is all? Everything here. So let's do that, because we don't care about the C column at that point. So it's just going to be everything. And let's just uncheck it and double check that there's everything. Is that everything? I don't think that's everything. Well, it's everything based on the other options. Okay. Then we want to add in, let's do this. Let's do Toyota now. So where it says Toyota only, we're going to copy our filter again. And in the case of this, we will do 5. And now, if Toyota is checked, we only have Toyota. Let's do Nissan now. Only Nissan. And we'll paste. And now our C column is C4. That is correct. And so now just that checked. Now we have only Nissan. Now the last thing we need to figure out is Nissan or Toyota. Now how do we have a filter where we have both of those? Well, a simple answer is that we put in curly brackets both of the filters. And I'm going to do that right now. This is sort of the simple answer. Let's just delete all that. Put in our filter, but actually no, don't put in our filter. First, we're going to put in 2 curly brackets. And in those curly brackets, we're going to put a filter, semicolon, and then another filter. And we're going to just change this C4 to C5. So now we have 2 filters in there, and the curly brackets put those together. They create them together. So what happens is we found out earlier, and I'm not sure if you absolutely caught it or if I showed you, but in curly brackets, if you put 2 things together and one of them has an error, the entire thing has an error. But in this case, we only get to the point of having them in curly brackets when we know it's completely true. Okay, so we now have all of our true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false, true, false, and false, true. Ugh. And now we have our filter function. So we have start date, end date. We have our type. We can say Nissan and Toyota or Nissan or Toyota. And then we have our country. We can say, let's do USA. Nothing because we have nothing. And now everything that is USA. Yeah. So even that works if we change our country. This is really cool. So hopefully you enjoyed understanding that. Now you understand or at least see an example of filter and a very complicated filter where we have a multiple types of situations where we have these checkboxes as well. We did start date, end date filter. So instead of just a filter based on exactly the date, we have a greater than or equal to the start date and less than or equal to the end date. And then we have our country filter is based on a dropdown. We dealt with this sort of if parade of sorts. And if this is confusing at all, feel free to comment down below what your frustration and challenge is, and I'll try to make a follow-up video based on showing you or clarifying that situation. Thanks so much for watching. We have created from a database. We now have a filterable view of that database. And thank you very much. Bye.